Welcome back. It's time for Press Review, where we take a look at what's making headlines today. And joining the discussion is Kevin Osido, the Director of County Governance Watch. Welcome to the show, Kevin. Now, let's start off. We have two editions of the Standard. One is going with the big coast firm, while the other shocking opulence of fake gold suspects. Now, let's start with the story on the big coast firms shifting business to Nairobi, and we are told leading manufacturers, cargo handlers and property investors dump Mombasa port cash shifts to the capital city, worsening economic options. And a lot of the investors, those who are associate of said investors, have been up in arms with the difference that is going to be brought about by the shift to SGR, or rather the push for that shift. And this is just indicating some of those currents that are coming with the new way of doing things. And we are told here that Mohammed Jaffa, who is arguably one of the biggest employers in Mombasa as a result of his cargo handling operations, and more recently the offloading and packaging of cooking gas, has shifted to the city, and this could cost a lot of people their jobs. What's your take on this?
Yeah, that's quite true. In fact, one of the things that needs to be understood is the place of government policies in terms of not only creating an amicable environment for business to thrive, but putting in place supportive policies that are also able to support not only public sector players, but also private sector. And you note that within the coast there have been a number of strikes and people demonstrating and saying, we want to understand what is this and what this means to us. And especially given that this is coming in the wake of the national celebrations at the coast, where citizens should have been given the opportunity actually to understand the government's plans with regards to all these issues. Because yes, we know that His Excellency the President has a great idea. He has a agenda, the big four agenda items, and manufacturing is one of those very key agenda items. And so it needs really to be broken down to citizens so that they are able to understand what are these drivers that are supposed to push the economy in such mega cities like Nairobi, Mombasa, and even Kisumu and other upcoming urban areas. And so it is important, therefore, in my view, that softer and safer grounds for joint conversations need to be put in place. And I am looking forward to seeing how the Mombasa City County is going to be able to respond to some of these needs. But much more fundamentally is now there is therefore the call for networks for business sector players, and particularly institutions like KEPSA, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, among several others, because the county governments, basically the constitution is supported by various legislations, which also include the Urban Areas and Cities Act, which also give the citizens the power to be able to organize themselves locally and influence decisions on what issues affect them directly. And so this is really one of those areas for which such kind of supportive legislations in the constitution should be given that test. But I think finally, in my view, the Ministry of Industrialization also needs to come out to spell its policies to citizens so that it is clearly understood, because I don't think that for such a time as this, it would be fit for government to pride itself in pushing an agenda which citizens cannot be able to not only feel, but also touch. And I think this is a test on how government wants to ensure that it safeguards an environment where citizens can be able to peacefully and effectively do a business, which is supposed to also add value to the gross domestic product of the country.
I mean, at least immediately, because as the government pushes for this, for the new way of things and a new way of transporting cargo from the coast to the mainland and other countries, there are things that, these are shifts that will affect the Mwananchi, like the example that is being given, the loss of jobs. Is it a failure in terms of planning because they did not foresee that there's going to be a difference in terms of, that would affect the locals as they aim to improve the economy?
That would be attributed to a failure for two things. One is, of course, that planning, but two is stakeholder engagement. Because I think, in my view, it would be quite unfortunate to have this kind of very important news coming out only when people are demonstrating against what government perceives to be as positive towards its own, achieving its own agenda. And so what that means, in my view, is that the Ministry of Planning and Coordination of National Government, and particularly even Treasury itself, needs to therefore expand its scope in terms of how it engages primary and secondary stakeholders. And primary here is, for example, the story that you are quoting, where our businesses are now closing down and people are looking for opportunities in Nairobi. And doing business in Nairobi is not as cheap as we might probably see it, you know, on a day-to-day running, or as you rightfully said, imagine. And so what that means is that the government, through planning, Ministry of Planning, therefore needs to come out and effectively expand the opportunities for people to not only scrutinize what government is doing, but get involved at the very onset stages, which I think has not been the case. And quite unfortunate is that the story of this SGR is one which I think is here to stay, and especially because we're expanding this all the way now to Narok areas and the second phase of SGR. And people are still asking very important questions, including the president's promise to share papers and agreements around the country's agreement to enjoin itself with on the SGR agreement with China. And unfortunately, it's of course people asking these questions, and we are seeing emerging issues like what we are now talking about. Unfortunately, government is not taking the responsibility to be responsive enough and to respond to some of these questions, which I think, in my view, one day will really fall back very heavily on the government. So the recommendation, therefore, in my view, is that expand the scope for public engagement, let people talk about these issues, and the local businesses.
Not just talk, they must listen in view of meeting those needs. Not putting a stop to the projects, but figuring out solutions surrounding.
Yes, and that's what I was just about to say, that the local businesses now need to begin, not just begin, but to continue to organize effectively, even to monitor the recommendations and proposals that have been put forward by national government and other stakeholders. And if they are not effective in their view, then we need to see stringent measures. For example, petitions that are submitted to court to stop some of these processes, so that we see a scenario where government is also responding to the needs of the citizens, because government really, in terms of business, is supposed to create that environment. It's supposed to ensure that there are policies, legal frameworks that support that also support the ease of doing business. But when government now comes to make it very difficult, then the question that would beg is, why is it so? And so what can we do about it?
And you know, one of the selling points for that railway was that it would revitalize and make businesses along its path, you know, come alive. But clearly at the port itself, things are shifting in the other direction. So clearly, while the system, the intention was good, there must be need for the locals to be considered, and solutions that work for them be implemented, or rather even just talked about, and, you know, at the very least, because we've been witnessing weekly protests.
I think this is a mega government investment that it would be very unfortunate if Kenyans are left out, and especially when you're talking about the era of leaving no one behind. And if government is depending on Kenyans to be able to also drive its agenda for economic growth and to support the president's Big Four, particularly on manufacturing, then we need to see supportive measures which are also going to guarantee that the spaces for citizens are also protected, and that people really don't need to demonstrate for their voices to be heard. Yes, it is their constitutional right, it is their space, but I think that government needs to be adaptive enough to the changing environment, where then if it is about SGR and people are talking about issues, let action be taken. And beyond the demonstrations, let's do petitions and send them to a court of law.
Now, let's take a look at page 2 of the Standard. You're told about the chaos that ensued at the Nairobi County government. Chaos as MCAs clash over fresh bid to kick out Elachi, and that is the speaker that has been under siege. We're told that the anarchy rocked the Nairobi County Assembly once again yesterday in the wake of a fresh attempt to impeach Speaker Beatrice Elachi. And then pictured right there is the drama that you're being told about in the headline, and the chaotic scenes after members of parliament supporting Beatrice clashed with those supporting Majority Leader Abdi Guyo at City Hall yesterday. This seems to be a never-ending dramatic, deadlock between the two camps. What's your take on this when you see these honorable MCAs trading blows and shoving and having scuffles every other week just over who will be Speaker of the Nairobi County Assembly?
Trix, this is very unfortunate because I think maybe since April last year we've been talking about this single issue. And the unfortunate bit of it is that history is not going to judge these quote-unquote honorable members on the virtue of on the premise of how much energy they emitted on each other and their attacks and all these factions. History is going to look at how many number of laws, legislations did they put in place to ensure that the people who elected them and the parties that nominated them to the county assembly were effectively protected, and that the role for which they are put in place have been exercised, which include representation. So we'll be looking at the number of laws and the policy environments that they have been able to monitor. Number two is the degree of oversight that they have been able to exercise on the county government, and you and I will agree, and our fellow viewers, that they have not been able to do very well, because up to now we do not have a deputy governor for Nairobi City County and several other issues within the cabinet of the city county government. And so people would be interested in looking at beyond the wars and the fights, because politicians would want to look at a scenario where they use their physical strengths as opposed to what we cannot see, which is their brains. And so my challenge to these good friends of mine, I can see some of my friends whose photos appear here, is that really beyond this was, let's look at the place of dialogue and how we can be able to set a good example for other county assemblies, because what's happening in Nairobi is not just unique to Nairobi. Many other county assemblies are struggling with very many different issues, but they have found a very effective way of dealing with their challenges, which range from passage of budgets to passage of even CIDPs to annual development plans to supplementary budgets, all the way even to how different service delivery measures are being passed at the county governments. And so in my view, the lawmakers for Nairobi City County Assembly really need to retreat. And I thought we had dealt with this issue 2 weeks ago, because when Mheshimiwa Elachi went back to the seat,
final,
that should have been, in my view, an opportunity for them to now come and ask themselves, how much time have we lost
on this?
And especially because the friends of mine like Mheshimiwa Chege Mwaura, who are sitting in for the space, should now be able to also read, in my view, the Riots Act for whichever faction he is part of. The majority leader, Mheshimiwa Guyo, also need to come back to the fore and begin to ask the question, what is my interest in this issue? And I think that even the party for which the elected members come from, which is Jubilee, now need to also exercise its internal disciplinary measures to ensure that the people who represent the party at the county assembly, that really they exercise the tools of governance within their party and call these people to order and really deal with this issue. Because my biggest concern is the state of county governance within Nairobi City County and the state of service delivery. You walk outside here and look at the degree of trash. So sanitation issues is a function of the county government. People in Nairobi are still talking about water. Your studio, your station did a very commendable job on water and sanitation in Nairobi County. And especially this week when we are also commemorating the sanitation week at the KICC. So the question around what this means to the members of Nairobi City County Assembly, really, they need to wake up from their sleeping beds and walk with Kenyans and just see what people are going through. And that, in my view, needs to give them an opportunity to reflect on what they need to do and what their responsibility as elected leaders is.
Very, very, very wise words there. But
whether taken or not is another story.
That's another story. Now let's take a look at another story that has been making headlines since yesterday, well, for the past few days, because we had the KCPE students preparing and we had all this talk about floods and how they would affect the process, then cheating and all the areas that are being, the measures are put in place to ensure that there is none of that. And this is a big story on the Daily Nation. We are told a catalogue of chaos, registration, shock-up, birth, and delays on day one. And these delays for some, for example, those in Turkana, have to do with some of the flash floods that they have been experiencing owing to the rainy season that is going on. But obviously, there's the cheating issue, and we are told that National Exam Stops Cabinet meeting as the state pulls all stops to prevent cheating. Now, we did hear yesterday the various CSs in various areas. We had CS George Magoha in Mombasa. We had CS for Interior in Gilgil, just keeping a close eye on the process and the opening of the cargo, and just, you know, having a hands-on approach to the whole process in a bid to help that in the curbing of, you know, cheating. Now, pictured on the top page, we have Onyinkwa Dennis, a very inspiring picture right there, showing us that we should be limitless, as Eliud Kipchoge told us, because he's writing or taking the paper with his feet. And it's quite, I think, beautiful, the determination that is shown there. And if you look inside, there's more pictures of the process, but obviously there are issues surrounding it as well.
Yeah. In my view, one, it's commendable that cabinet secretaries went out there to be able to, you know, show, to provide a show of confidence to these young ones, our brothers and sisters and our children.
Yes. And
to just let them know that all is well. I think a lot of investment has been put in place to ensure that these exams, both for the KCPE and even the KCSE ones, go very well. Beyond this, I think two things come to my mind. One is the state of preparedness, and for a number of schools, there was a directory that parents should not visit schools, even for the normal prayer days that we have been able, that we are used to, where we are invited back to schools. At least we have a video of the CS for Interior praying for some children and in Gilgil. But I think for me, the bigger question is, and maybe before this is also to say that the CS for Education today was very instrumental in the former examination era, because at that time I think he was the chair of the Taskforce on Education and Examinations, and working very closely with the Minister of Education. So two things. One is the lessons that we've been able to learn from that very initial process, where I think almost less than 10% of cheating was recorded. And so we'll be looking forward to seeing how this particular one has gone down. And then number two is cross-cutting issues. We are seeing a scenario where there has been a number of suicidal deaths that have been committed by kids, you know, children who are in primary schools, not to mention universities and other tertiary learning institutions of learning. So the question then that begs is, are we prepared to deal with other issues beyond exams? Because this in my view is an event. By the end of this week, we won't be seeing these nice photos. We won't be talking about the examinations. We'll have moved on to something else, maybe BBI or KCSE or something else, or maybe Jared Otieno, these people are walking around with fake gold. Something else will come up tricks. But then the lives of these young ones is something that must be secured. And so issues about why depression, whether it's depression or other factors that are making them commit suicide. Number two is issues to do with early pregnancies. You note that, again, your paper, the Standard, carried towards the end of about 2 months ago, a total number of many young kids in primary schools who had very, who are reported to be pregnant either by their teachers or boda riders or whoever was responsible. And so in my view, I think that even as we talk about education reforms and following a very successful event for the education curriculum at KCC presided over by the president, to now this very wonderful event that is taking place, we need also to move forward and talk about other cross-cutting issues which may not be exam related, but really affect the life after we sit for our exams and how we become the total human beings within our society, including even how we receive our examination results, both as parents and also as guardians and people who pay for their school fees. And again, tricks, because we are talking about a situation where it's about CBC, curriculum-based competency, and we are saying that nobody will not go to Form 1, that everyone who sits their KCP exams today whether you score 5 marks or you score 10 marks, it's really about your competency.
Yes.
So what does that really mean to the kids whose lifestyle and whose orientation has been that the exams is really what it is?
Yes.
And in many meetings I have gone to, even at the county levels, where you are invited to just come and share your stories and as you talk and motivate the children, it's about the number of marks that you score.
Right.
So I think we also need to demystify CBC against the expectation that the marks that you will be able to score at the examination level determines who you become.
Sure. And I'm glad you brought that up, the issue about teen pregnancies. And this is a picture that has been painted by the Standard on page 4, where we can see a candidate from Ogenya Primary School sitting for her KCPE exam as her newborn takes a rest at the Ahero Sub-County Hospital in Kisumu yesterday. You cannot, you cannot compete with that picture in terms of making it clear that something needs to be done about teen pregnancies. And I'll just leave it at that. The story has been covered largely across board. All the papers are giving us the latest on the taking of the KCPE exams. Now that you brought it up, on page 4, fake gold suspect lives on the fast lane, and this is a state wants to seize the 2018 Bentley Contingent DT alongside a custom-made Porsche Panamera of 2015 worth 30 million, arguing they are proceeds of crime. And this has to do with the shocking opulence, as it is being termed, of 300 million shillings fake gold suspect, who has been named here as Jared Otieno. Now, what's your take on this one? Tell us more.
This is, I probably have nothing to talk about, especially with regards to this. But I think on a wider scale, this is not new, because in 2015, I think this is the same gentleman who went to Meru to pay his dowry in a very flamboyant manner, in a manner in which looking at one, not to say that young people like you and I cannot make money, but the degree of money that you make, depending on how old you are at that particular point in time.
And by Kenyan standards.
And by Kenyan standards. And number two is it's not normal that you are going to pay your dowry and a host of this amount of politicians are following you and they are part of your process.
Unless they are following the money.
Unless you're very good friends and that they really have a good reason for why they are doing that. But then the shocking thing, in fact, I was shocked last night when I saw this on some social media post, when somebody was making a comparison. So you tell us you're this rich, you're going to, this very interesting ceremony in Meru. And then today we are talking about you as a fake gold digger.
Yeah.
I think this presents a number of issues which also relate to how our institutions of integrity are managed and execute their functions, which include the DPP, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, DCI, for the sake of criminal investigations, and of course EACC for the case of ethics and anti-corruption. And much more fundamentally is the place for which institution segments like fake gold fall in. And I think one of the things that needs to be given to Kenyans, in my view, is the space for feedback. That when we do our investigations, when we execute certain issues like this one, let Kenyans know the state of that particular investigation or the state of that particular issue. Because if it was reported in 2015, and today is 2019, 4 years down the line, this gentleman should have undergone through a lot of camouflagic stages, which then begs the question, what kind of society are we living in? And the beauty of it, Trix, is that you will not be able to have this kind of a car on the streets of Nairobi without people like Kevin Osido taking a photo of it and sharing it with some friends and saying, by the way, when I grow up, I want to have a car like this.
To own this.
Who owns this kind of car? And then very good people.
Not to say that we cannot get rich in Kenya. It's just that there's a lot of, red flags have been pointed out.
Which is what I'm saying, that when people send it to KRA and they dig out who owns the number plate, because that's what everybody does. Many times I have seen my friends stopped by flying squad officials, and they are flagged down and they stop and they are asked, can you give us your car registration details? We have issues with this car, and they verify, and within 10 minutes, you prove that it belongs to you and you go away. But that's what we are saying, that we should be able, if when flagged down with this kind of cars, and I agree with you not to say that you and I and several other young people cannot own these cars, but we should be able to do what many times, and those of us who are in governance and leadership have been asking for, a lifestyle audit, and that you are able to account for every coin, for every shilling, for every note that you have within yourself, and that you're also able to count for every pair of shoe and every belt and every earring and bangles that we have on our hands. Because otherwise, I think we have just been talking about education. And if we are going to propel this kind of stories, then even the space for education, the space for values, the space for ethics in our society will fast fade away, and people will be doing everything possible to be as rich as this gentleman without necessarily going through God's plan for our lives to be this rich.
Okay, and now that is a story that if you want to know more, you need to read the Standard. It has even broken down some of the opulent features of this particular automobile, and they go into the millions. And then we have, just a reminder, this is a man who has been accused or is facing the accusation of having duped a foreign government in a scam of selling fake gold. So you need to read that story, and obviously that bit about his extravagant Rora shoe, if you may, is still being covered right here on page 3. So very deep coverage of his opulence as well as his lifestyle. Now let's take a short break. As we told you earlier on, today we are teaming up with Vibes Radio to discuss the what is it called, Punguza Mizigo initiative, as well as the report on the BBI that is being awaited upon. So do not go too far. We'll have more for you right here on Morning Express.
This is KTN News.
Fast-paced world where everybody needs to keep up, the Standard Digital e-paper will keep you ahead of the pack. Welcome to the Standard Digital e-paper platform that offers you an all-in-one access to all daily reads, weekly and monthly pullouts, and newspapers, so you will never miss a moment. Get tailor-made packages for daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly subscriptions for individual readers, corporate or learning institutions at unbelievable discounts. Now that's great news. So simply download the Standard Digital e-paper app from Google Play Store or Apple Store, or visit newsstand.standardmedia.co.ke and subscribe now. It's more than just news. It's your news just the way you like it. A tap away. Standard Digital e-paper.
Just how you like it.
Warm greetings from the skies aboard KQ003, the flight from New York to Nairobi.
It's been an excellent experience. It's quite a lot to learn, a lot of exposure, a lot of new experiences.
When you leave JFK, you arrive in Nairobi in the morning, you go to work, you go to church.
I'm saving a whole day, which makes me a lot more productive.
The flight is good, but they should improve on communication and customer service.
The milestones, the challenges, the way forward.
It's the best initiative we had. It's good for business.
We said in 12 months we start to break even. Well, actually, we broke even in 8 months.
All of those flights have happened without incident. They have been safe and they have been secure.
KQ Nairobi, New York, 1 year on. Produced by Chams Media for KTN News Channel this Thursday at 8:30 p.m.
Join American, Kenyan, and East African business executives, investors, senior government officials, and multilateral stakeholders at the annual AmCham Business Summit taking place in Nairobi, Kenya on November 4th to 5th, 2019. Featuring 6 sectors of focus: agribusiness, technology and digital economy, health, infrastructure, energy, and manufacturing, the summit presents a great opportunity for high-level business networking, gain market intelligence, drive policy interventions, enhance thought leadership, and explore partnerships with both public and private sector players across the region. Don't miss out. Register at www.amchambizsummit.com today. The AmCham Biz Summit, partnering for prosperity.
This is KTN News.
Now, the BBI report as well as the Punguza Mizigo initiative is going to be the topic that we will be discussing today with the Vibes crew, that is Vibes Radio. And in the spirit of convergent, Mike has scuttled over to their studio so that we can have that discussion. That will be the Newsroom edition today. So let's cross over and be a part of that conversation.
Fish.
Yeah.
And it is cheaper than fish from Kisumu.
But it really tastes bad.
It's
It's bad.
bad.
It's horrible.
So there's really no rationale in it. I'll give you my personal experience. I went to Luangni Beach at one point, and I was like, you know what? Let me sit here and enjoy the sunset on Lake Victoria and enjoy some fish. And I asked for, just a sizable
Tilapia.
fish. I mean, looking at my size, you can tell the kind of fish I was looking for. Tilapia.
Yes.
And I was shocked because it was, I think when I was given the bill, it was 1,200 and something. And I'm like, wait, I'm right where the fish comes from.
Yes.
No,
I'm paying 1,000 shillings for fish. How?
You
Yet
import-
Chinese fish is like, what, 300?
Yes.
For the same size.
And that's the crazy part. So also another thing, of course, is, so we've talked manufacturing, we've talked health coverage, we've talked housing, and we've talked food and nutrition. So clearly the Big Four agenda isn't going according to plan.
Yes.
And so then, of course, one of the biggest issues is how much we spend as a country in the budget. So this year we were at 36.8 billion. 50% going to silos. Yeah?
Recurrent expenditure.
Recurrent expenditure. It's crazy. I did a bit of commerce in school. And the first thing you're told, don't spend 50% on recurrent expenditures.
As in, don't even go to commerce, Kwambox. Just your own salary.
Yeah.
If you're spending more than 50% on recurrent, rent, electricity, your Wi-Fi, happy Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're definitely heading to poverty. There's an uncle of mine who told me if you're spending more than actually 30% of your salary on recurrent expenditure, you will remain poor.
But
now, if we can do that on a home level, why can't a government?
Yep.
But even the saddest thing is that even these guys who we are bringing in, kina MCAs, kina senators, kina MPs, most of them, when you look at the details hapo ndani, most of them are doing double jobs. Most of them, mtu afanya hii kidogo, then mwingine anakamkumbus kidogo. But even in real sense, most of them are barely doing anything.
Like, what does a deputy governor do? These are the questions we ask. Then, as we were thinking and asking these questions, the Third Way Alliance of Kenya, led by Ekuru Court, brought the Punguza Mzigo. Now, this is Punda Amechoka. So, this is what they were proposing. They're saying they want to reduce the cost of running a parliament, bring back the budget from 36.8 billion to 5 billion.
Okay.
I don't know. Like that for me is already like, yes, I'm
Sounds like a good
in.
plan.
I'm in. And then, of course, overrepresentation, where we have 416 MPs, we could reduce that to 147. 47 counties, single constituency units, with parliamentary elections, abolish nominations in county assemblies, just basically breaking it down. And one of the major ones is like every Kenyan at the age of 18 acquires a national identity card, which will also be deemed as a registered voter.
Okay.
Makes so much sense because you spend a lot of money on this.
Yeah.
And corruption and theft of public resources, no presidential pardon or amnesty will be applicable for such cases. And basically, if you're found wasting public resources, you're supposed to pay a maximum of 500K. I mean, it's very interesting. And if you follow the thirdwayalliance.com, you can get to see everything there. Now, my question is, this guy went to all 47 county assemblies and they shut it down. Why? Why do you think?
Well, there's several things. Number one is the political aspect of it. And allow me to handle that, then maybe you guys, we can look at other things.
Yeah.
But number one is the fact that Ekuru Court sort of got everybody off guard.
Yeah.
Particularly the political bigwigs. Then he did not involve them.
Yeah.
So already kulikuwa hapo na ile story ana feel yenyewe hapo umefanya hii kitu peke yako. So they termed him arrogant, self-centered, blah 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 blah. So they shot it down, not because initially it was not a good idea, but the fact that politically speaking he did not whip up support.
But where were Kenyans where were we in this story? Because as soon as you tell me that we can reduce the budget from 36.8 billion to 5 billion, I'm in. I don't even want to hear the rest of it. So Kenyans, I'm just going to ask you to call us right now, 0719012700. Is it that mulikuwa wapi sale punguza mzigo ilikuwa inapelekwa?
I think because the other people who are out there making cash, because I can see that he wanted to reduce ward reps from current 85 to 17.
Yeah.
So he's created more unemployment. Yes. So guys felt that he's going to be attacking them. Now what I lose jobs out. So they would rather stay in a government whereby they're earning something. Even if they're not doing anything, they're earning something. So they would rather stay in a government that budget equal inflated versus wakae huko nje jobless.
I mean, you know the crazy part. I think the one of the biggest problems with punguza mzigo is it's like now your boss coming to you and tell you, now we want to fire a couple of people.
Yes.
Vote for whether we should fire some people.
Yes.
Of course, they're going to say no.
Yes.
But Kenyans, where were we in this story? Did you care? Call us up 0719012700 and toa opinion yako. Hello, Mojo.
Yo, mambo.
Fiti sana. Good morning.
Poa sana. Mi story yangu ni ya food.
Okay.
I think president anafaelewe.
Hello.
Maendeleo ni chakula. Maendeleo CSGR, sio JKA Express ya billions ngapi. Naunga tunanunua 200. Kwanza shughulikie chakula, kila kitu, then barabara zitajileta.
All right. Thank you so much. That's Mojo. Just pointing out we need to focus on priorities. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, who are we speaking to?
Speaking to Riverton, Bernard.
Tafadhali zima radio ama your TV, we can hear the feedback. All right. Call us up 0719012700 kama unataka kutoa maoni yako. What would you like to address the president this morning? We, of course, have brought Punguza Mzigo. We've brought for you the Big Four agenda, where we are right now. And it's up to you now.
Yeah, and really, he's the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of the country. And we expect from the CEO atatupatia maoni.
Mike Shire, good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine and okay. I want to address Mr. President.
Yes.
Why is there runaway corruption in Kenya? Number one. Number two, why are our MPs passing laws with besides public outcry? Number three, where are the stadiums that he has promised? Why was sport not included in the Big Four agenda? Yeah.
All right.
Finally, why is the president appointing old people in cabinet posts whereas they are new faces?
All right. Thank you so much.
Educated people. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that one. So he just points out real quick, but I'm going to... there's one he said about why are we hiring
Old people.
No, why are we building stadiums? There's someone else who raised that point. Did we need to spend that amount of money on stadiums? Has the money been spent? Ephantus?
Hello?
Hi, Ephantus. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great.
Now I have two points to make. One is on this Punguza Mzigo. I think Accord made a big mistake not involving the MCAs actually, who are meant to validate the Punguza Mzigo so that it moves to the next level. Because you cannot say that you are going to reduce the number of MCAs and you expect them to pass that to go through.
But
otherwise, the whole idea was a brilliant idea, but then the people who are involved on the ground did not see the need, because actually they were the ones who are that it was the targeted group to be removed out.
Ephantus, have you read the what Ekuru Court was proposing, the Punguza Mzigo?
Partially, I've read it.
And does it make sense to you?
It does make a lot of sense actually. If that Punguza Mzigo goes direct to Wanjiko for voting, actually it would carry the day.
All right, thank you so much, Ephantus. He raises an interesting point.
And that might be where he made a mistake, because according to the Constitution, there's supposed to be public participation.
Yeah.
That's where he probably went wrong, because there was not much of public participation. However, the representatives that we have, MCAs, members of the county assembly, are the ones who are supposed to see this for us. But like you mentioned, and like he has brought it up, you cannot ask the question, we need to fire guys. So can you guys vote as to whether we're going to fire people? Of course, if we're the ones being asked to vote, we'll be like, no.
But also, Michael, that brings a very interesting point. Wanjiko has voted for these representatives to go and represent them. Why does it have to skip them to come to us? Then why do I need you?
Yes,
why do I need you?
Precisely.
Call us up 0719012700. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
We're good. Who are we speaking to?
Oh, yeah, my name is Chief. I'm calling from the United States.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, I could want just to mention something so brief. I could just say, let the judiciary lock up this peace that we have, the impunity. Let the judiciary lock up the thieves. Then things will work out fine. People have stolen money. They have gone to benchmarking. They come back, they steal money, they go out to other countries, they go see what other people are doing, but there is nothing, even whatever that the other colleague, your colleague has just said there. Why can somebody be voting when he has registered with an ID? In the U.S., when you go even to the post office to go change the driver's license or to go pick a mail, you are just asked, are you a voter? Can we register you? And it takes like 2 minutes to register somebody for 40.
Yeah.
Now in the U.S., you have an exercise of which takes, whole billion of money. And these people, they started coming to the U.S., England, UK, benchmarking and seeing how people are doing things over there.
Yeah. All right.
They don't come and implement. They don't come and implement some of these things, please.
All right. Thank you so much. And he raised a very interesting point. All these benchmarking trips, is anything ever implemented?
No, actually, those benchmarking trips are about per diem.
That's it.
It's not about implementation.
So
Absolutely.
Even during the Olympics, they actually went for benchmarking and
and
is there any stadium? Have any of our even volleyball players, have they ever been kitted because of benchmarking and seen, by the way, these guys have kits?
Ian from Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, Sheila. How are you guys?
We are great.
Okay, so I just want to make a comment on this Punguza Mzigo. I think the biggest enemy to Punguza Mzigo are the MCAs, and the second biggest enemy to Punguza Mzigo are going to be the MP. You know why?
Yep.
This Punguza Mzigo attempts, first of all, to reduce the number, to scrap the number of MCAs completely, and then the same Punguza Mzigo attempts to stop public wastage of public money and capping salaries of elected leaders, right? So these are the people who we went to so that they can help us reduce corruption and all that. And they're the same people who are perpetuating all these public fund theft and all that stuff. So I think there was public participation in that. The Kuru Court already collected millions of signatures from Kenyans. But at the same time, MCAs through their own political, I guess, selfishness or something.
Yeah.
They decided just to shoot down the whole thing.
It's true. All right. Thank you so much, Ian. Ian there from Mombasa raising a very interesting point, which I think we have also... He did get 1 million Kenyan signatures. But you remember we're, 50 million? I'm just saying.
Yeah, and lest we lose the plot, let's go back to the Big Four agenda. The question is, this is what the president used to campaign.
Yeah.
This is what he used as bait. If we do an analysis or an audit of where we are with that Big Four today, unfortunately, food security, hamna, we are hungry. UHC, bado hakuna mahospitali zinafanya kazi. Affordable housing, that's a story for another day. Manufacturing guys are losing jobs. So, Mr. President, where are we on those?
Yep. Call us up 0719-012-700. We want to hear from you. How do you want to address the president, especially when it comes to the Big Four agenda? We have, of course, broken it down. As it stands this year, our budget was at 36.8 billion. And what we have is... it's inflated, guys. It's too big. We can't handle it as a country.
It's inflated? Well, that equipment that we're talking about that's taken to hospitals for 38 billion that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have
stalled projects.
Benchmarking, where we had how many MPs went the other day to the US? I think like 35 of them. Let's just say a lot was spent.
Yeah.
And that's why our budget has hit sky roof, and it's there's nothing that's seen on the ground.
Currently, in the newspaper, the president has been out of the country. He's traveled 38 times just this year. All right,
have you seen the jet?
Yeah, we've seen that. Hi, who are we speaking to?
Priscilla, and my issue would be, you watched something that was aired by NTV on Sunday and Monday about cancer country?
Yes.
Yeah, it is a big issue. And I hope Mr. President would really give this as a first priority as well as food. It is really, really an issue, and Kenyans are really suffering.
But Priscilla, just to ask her, this is actually part of the president's Big Four agenda. So, and money has been spent, like we just told you, 38 billion was spent in the Ministry of Health, to equip hospitals, but the equipment is not working.
So what do we do?
That's what we're asking. Thank you so much for calling, Priscilla. Kamal from Eldoret, good morning.
Thank you so much for calling, Priscilla.
Hello.
Habari.
Salama sana.
Haya, changia story yetu leo.
Ni Jeremiah Bungoma Kivilini. Umpata labda nikilia, nilikuwa nataka kumkotea tu.
Kutugotea
tu.
Kotea tu.
Okay, asante sana. All right.
One box.
Yes.
At least the judiciary is having budget cuts. At least.
No, but it was halted.
It's been suspended.
It was suspended.
It's been suspended.
At least they are showing
that
initiative.
Is the wrong budget cut, because a country that cannot, have their justice system work means we're in danger. As in Nikubaya.
Imagine
they should look for other means.
No, judiciary should not cut that budget, because at the end of the day, how many cases are sitting there? Look, we live in a country where a lot of people have been suspected of graft. Name one person who's been arrested, who's actually in prison. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, tunaongea na nani?
Tunaongea na Wanjala Omoto kutoka Kilifi.
Yes. Changia story yetu, wataka kumwambia president nini?
Mimi nataka kumwambia president kitu kimoja muhimu sana. Na ningependa mnipe nafasi mzuri. Mimi pia niweze kuzungumza. Nimetafuta nafasi hii kwa siku nyingi.
Zungumza.
Mimi ningeomba rais wetu awe makini sana na nchi yetu. Because nchi yetu tukufu saa hii tunaona matatizo mengi sana. Na haya matatizo yanatokana kwa sababu yeye yaonekana naongoza lakini hana power zozote. Sisi tungependa tumalize ufisadi, umalizwe. Na hiyo njia ambayo inatumika si njia nzuri. Kwa sababu sisi wote ni Wakenya. Na vile msemo unasema kwamba aliyepata kapata. Kitu kizuri ingekuwa saa hii serikali ama wabunge wakae chini wapitishe sheria Wale waliopata pesa ni bahati yao walipata. Waweke sheria kuanzia saa hii ya kwamba kuanzia saa hii kuendelea mbele, mtu yoyote atakayepatikana ameiba pesa za serikali achukuliwe hatua kali. Lakini hii mambo ya kutumia pesa tena kutafuta pesa ambazo hazitapatikana itakuwa ni hasara. Tunachitia hasara tu. Sasa ingekuwa vizuri tuweke sheria so that from now kuendelea mbele mtu akipatikana ameiba pesa so that tuanze Kenya mpya.
All right. Thank you so much, Wanjala. Wanjala there from Kilifi. And he raises an interesting point. I just want to also tell Wanjala, in the Punguza Mzigo, the Kuru Court was saying that corruption and theft of public resources cases be tried within 30 days and all appeals to be exhaustively concluded within 15 days. And then he also says, impose a life sentence for culprits convicted of corruption and theft of public funds. No presidential pardon and amnesty will be applicable for these cases. Where were Kenyans? Where were Kenyans when this was going around? Silas, good morning. Hello, hello.
Hello, mambo.
Fiti sana.
Habari yenu.
Tuko salama. Wataka kumwambia president nini leo asubuhi?
Mine is to focus on, okay, the president has given us SGR. That is something that will attract investors. But when it comes to, an investor cannot invest where money losses each and every day. He is not doing enough to just attract those investors because pesa zimepotea na hakuna kitu imefanywa. Can you invest where nini pesa inapotea kila siku?
Okay.
Definitely you can't. You can't invest where you are getting losses. So investors watakuja kama tutafunika hizo loopholes zenye pesa zinapotea kila time. Just recently I had 800 billion zilipotea kwa ministry fulani. And nobody is talking about it.
All right. Thank you so much, Silas. Silas, of course, bringing up the case of corruption. There's so many corruption cases, man.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of... me, sometimes I wonder, how much money do we have as a country? How are we not a first world country?
We're actually very rich. I mean, if you look at Goldenberg, lots of money was lost. Now, if we look at the amounts that we talk about, just this morning, I've seen a gentleman, if that article is anything to go by, who's got 2 cars that cost 87 million.
Yes, man.
As in Tukona do.
I broke that story down. I broke that story down.
I'm sure they even rich people, millionaires in the States, millionaire in dollars, who are looking at that and thinking, wow,
I know, right?
This is a big spender. So money as a country, we have 2 things that really, really bring us down. One is corruption. Because that money, first of all, I normally say, if you're going to be corrupt and you're going to steal money from the government, sawa, iba, lakini jenga industry. Upatie vijana kazi. Lakini sasa ukiiba uende ununue manyumba huko abroad. Number 2 is wastage. What we're talking about, the
all right, we got Jimmy from Duberry. I'm just going to hold your thought there. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you doing, guys?
We are great. So what do you want to address the president today?
Mr. President, your Big 4 agenda it's falling. It has come. When you touch on the affordable health care, you cannot have an affordable health care when you don't have a preventive health care. It will going to be expensive, more expensive, the curative health care. Talk about the affordable housing. Affordable housing, I've never seen any of the ministers going to break the grounds. Neither the president. Talk about the food security. What is he doing about the food security? Food security now, there's long range. I heard one of the governors saying on TV, that was by Sophia Wanuna, that is Checkpoint. The governor said he has no capacity to collect the waters. The rainwater.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
Yeah.
It's a big scam.
It's a big scam.
Talk about the BBI. The BBI now it's talking of inclusivity. It's talking of uniting the country.
Yeah.
But it's zero. It's dividing the country more. So, and as a reader, I would have expected him to call Kuru Okot. Bring his ideas, bring his Punguza Mzigo ideas, and that of BBI. See what they can remove from the BBI and add on the Punguza Mzigo, or vice versa.
Okay,
that didn't happen. That's a leader. That's how a leader should do.
Okay.
It's not just blackwashing, Kuro's Court, Punguza Mzigo, and you know.
All right, thank you so much, Jimmy. That's Jimmy from Dewberry, and he says Dubes. He's from Dubes, y'all.
Now, he's made me think about something, and we used the word scam.
Yeah.
Have we thought about it in the sense that this big four that we talk about actually, first of all, has never started, was never meant to start, will never start. So really, we're discussing something that maybe was non-existent right from the beginning. Maybe it was just a cash cow.
Yeah.
It was a way to make money.
Yeah, but also, you know, every leader when they get in, I mean, you have to say the right things. Look, I saw the campaign in Kibra, which is right now the biggest by-election. I don't know what gold is in Kibra. You know, I think kuna gold or some oil there that we don't know about. Because I heard the deputy president when he was campaigning for, which is interesting, the deputy president campaigning for, you know, an MP, you know, in Kibra, and he said, if you vote for Mariga, he will bring you hospitals. He will bring you roads. He's the only one who can create, and he's going to build schools here. And so it got me thinking. I was like, is Kibra like a new constituency, or you know, has it just shown up?
And what stops you from doing that now?
Yeah,
I mean, why do you have to wait for McDonald to be voted in for you to do that?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the deputy president here telling Kibra residents, vote for this guy, and then you'll start to see hospitals. He was part of the Jubilee government that was pitching to us this big four agenda that had housing, that had medicine, affordable healthcare,
stadiums,
that had jobs, that had stadiums. So now you're bringing an MP to, I mean, come on, you know?
I think at the end of the year we should compare notes to say, you promised us this. What's the status of this? So at least watu wajue, by the way, watu watudanganya wanatubeba vibaya.
All right,
it's about time watu waseme, by the way,
I think I'm concluding that politicians have juju that they use. Honestly.
Absolutely.
Because which politician can you give me that has given promises and has kept them?
They're meant to keep.
Yeah.
Hello, who are we speaking to?
You're speaking to Emmanuel Oyan from Isiolo.
Emmanuel, good morning.
Good morning too. So I'm actually looking at the what we call the Big Four agenda. But actually the president does not support these things, because one thing, food security is in a bad state now in Kenya.
It's true.
Until now, we are in the 22nd century, not even 21st century. People are dying of hunger. Yeah, and floods are carrying people everywhere. Yeah. Now, if the infrastructure would have been in a better state, food will be transported to each and every county, each and every ward. Now, this political thing make also the Punguza Mizigo to fail.
Yeah.
Kwa sababu walijua ya kwamba Punguza Mizigo iliguzia masuala nyeti ambayo president na the right honorable Raila Odinga hawakukuwa wanataka. They wanted BBI to pass, so they corrupt the MCS and the MP so that they can fail the bill.
Okay,
that's all. But the bill from Punguza Mizigo ili support the common mwananchi. Yeah. The common mwananchi ndo alikuwa na benefit. So from this perspective, in Africa, not even Kenya, hakuna siku mwananchi atai pata uhuru wake. We are still colonization.
All right.
Bado wazito tu ndo wanatumeza.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Emmanuel. Oh, Emmanuel has a lot to say, man.
My point is mzito.
I can tell you, look, if you're a Kenyan right now and you're watching this and you don't, uliona tu Punguza Mzigo ikikupita hivi, ukasema, you know, our leaders got us. We've raised this point. How is it possible? For me, I was thinking about this when we were doing research for this show, and I was like, Punguza Mzigo seems to have
solutions.
It has solutions. I think this is what every Kenyan is saying. Reduce the budget. We're spending too much. We're not getting money back. We're not creating industries that are,
generating cash.
Creating cash, generating cash. And jobs. So we need to reduce how much we're spending. I think anyone will tell you when you're not making as much money, that's the time you reduce your expenditure. you know. So we already see that, and we put leaders there, and we're saying this one is supposed to be, you know, discussing this for me, but he's not doing that, or she's not doing that. So how, us as Mwananchi, what can we do?
But I think even with Punguza Mzigo, it started with uko juu, because alisema he wants to introduce a 7-year term presidency. So even if I was the president, ngeenda kuambia wase kila mtu uko chini, wewe by the way kanyage hiyo story. Yeah, because imagine you get in 10 years, then say reduce it to 7 years. Mimi naambia kanyageni story.
All right, let's talk to the next caller. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning from Mathare, Stephen.
Hi, Stephen. Good morning. So what do you want to address this morning with the president?
I wanted just him to confirm the notes of his first term and second term. The first term, he had a lot of friends. Then he did not work anything. Even if the opposition was checking on him every time, he didn't work on it. He just ignored the opposition when they raised about even NYS. So, first term, alifanya 0. Second term, amepata opposition inamsupport, lakini bado upande wa corruption shida, haizi support chochote upande wa corruption. Kila wakati wanashika mtu wanamwachilia. So angecheck upande wa corruption, Kenya we have everything.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Is it true to say that if what Stephen has said, if the president actually dealt with corruption, then that would be a legacy?
It would be a legacy.
Would anybody be even bothering with Big Four?
No. In fact, all those things would sort themselves out, because the issues that bedevil us as a country are all to do with resources, which is why our borrowing right now is literally
out of order.
Completely out of order. And we've even been warned by World Bank that if we continue our insatiable appetite for borrowing, we cannot maintain it. Because we're not creating. We are consuming economy as opposed to producing. So we import even things, toothpicks. We import toothpicks. As in,
you know what's crazy? This is how I break it down. When you're, for example, if you decide right now to go and get a loan, like you're doing a business or, you know, you're running your life, and then you realize you need to pump in some new capital. So you have to start asking yourself questions. Even as you're going to the bank, they'll ask you, what do you need this money for? And then you say, I want to pump in this money to this business. Then they'll tell you, bring your business plan. Why? Because they won't put money in something that's not sustainable.
Right.
Now, here we have a situation where pumping in money in a situation of mad corruption. You understand? So even as you're borrowing this 10 billion, 5 of it will be stolen. You understand? And that's, or maybe as you're borrowing it, you're putting it in something that's not directly affected in
what you're borrowing.
It's like you're taking it to pay school fees.
But the mistake we might be making, Kwambox, is that we are assuming at the point where we are borrowing that money, we're actually borrowing to put it into what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
But the thing might be the politicians, as they're borrowing, they know, signal 10 billion. 7 out of that 10 will disappear somewhere
BBI.
into cars that cost 87 million.
I don't know, man.
Look
tenders.
Look at a county like Narok, whereby kulikuwa na stories of flooding happening. They went and built all these gabions and routes for water to pass, but they spent 200 million. Na saizi, jana in the news, 2 boys were swept away with water.
Wow.
Imagine.
All right, we're 18 minutes to 8 a.m. Good morning.
Good morning.
Who are we speaking to?
You're speaking to Eric Odongo.
Okay.
I'm calling you from Karen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my take on this is, as Kenyans, we vote for leaders. We don't vote. I mean, we vote for leaders. We don't vote for ideas that they have. Yeah, so I think that is my take.
Okay.
We just vote for our leaders. So, for example, if I'm a Luo, I vote for Raila. If I'm a Kikuyu, I vote for Uhuru Kenyatta. You know, but not their ideas.
And how's that helped us, Eric?
Huh?
How has that helped us so far?
It doesn't help us.
All right.
It doesn't help us. I think we should vote for ideas. Like for you, if you have a good ideas, I'll vote for you. You know.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric.
I think that's my take. Thank you.
All right. Eric there says we vote.
In fact, not even voting for individuals. We vote for tribes. That's actually what he's saying.
And you know what's interesting? As we're speaking to us Kenyans right now, right? Me, for example, like South B. When election was happening, I was staying in South B. And I'll be honest, I didn't vote. Because there's not a single person who was giving me solutions, because why should I go and panga line and put somewhere there because they're the only ones that are there. There was no actual leader that was saying, look, in South B, we'll make it because it's a space there.
Yeah.
You're coming into a constituency. Why should I have to then move from, like, say, Kitengela to come and work in Nairobi? Do you understand what I mean? If you're going to come there as an MP, then create opportunities for business that even my company can open a branch there, so that I can work there. So that I don't have to deal with this traffic maneno. So for me, that's what I was looking for. Who's going to give me solutions? Will water be affordable? Will we be able to get electricity more affordable?
Unfortunately, our politics are not idea-based. They're not ideology-based. I mean, let's take an example of Starehe constituency, for example.
Yeah.
We had Boniface Mwangi, who has literally stood and put his neck on the line, literally, for the sake of public funds and all that. He even crowdfunded for his own campaign. What did we do? We put Jaguar. Why? Well, because he's a good musician. So what do we expect? Let's just expect...
He was in the right party.
Yeah, he was in the right party and sings, Kigeugeu very well.
But he cried.
So my point here is the fact that as Kenyans, we vote the bad leaders in, then we complain.
All right. Let's go to the phone lines because we've had 15 minutes left. Hello. Hello. All right. Call us up 0719012700. Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Who are we speaking to?
My name is Rafael. I'm calling from Machakos. I would like to contribute to this show.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Hello.
No, there's a show. Hello.
Yes. Talk to us.
Yeah, I'm talking of the KTN show on.
All right, you're watching the TV, Raphael. Hello, good morning. All right, when you call, remember to ko kwa simu, not kwa TV. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, who are we speaking to?
You're speaking to Anne.
Anne, I need you to reduce the volume on your TV, tafadhali.
Okay.
All right, talk to us.
Now, I'm calling from Malindi.
Yes.
And I wish this message to reach the president, to reach Mr. Matiang'i, to reach the DPP, and to reach the DCI. Mr. President alitupromise kuwa sisi tutapata employment katika Big Four agenda. Na whatever is happening in Malindi, unfortunately, is not employment. Isipokuwa ni watu, they are suffering.
Yeah.
Hotels are closing down. Hakuna biashara zenye zinafanyika. Na on top of it, hakuna hata ofisi moja ya serikali inachunguza what is going down here. Hawa Wataliani wenye wanafungua hizi mahoteli wakifunga, they don't pay the workers. We have been working for years and years and years. Na hatupatui pesa zetu. We've been knocking in all government offices and we don't get any response. They don't go down waangalie ni nini yenye inafanyika hapa chini. Wataliani wanauza properties instead of kulipa wafanyikazi, hakuna wafanyikazi wanalipwa. Na wana collude na hawa lawyers wenye wako hapa ndani chini. Watu wanakufa na pesa zao kabla hawajalipwa.
Wow.
We want this one to go down. They have to investigate the case of Coral Key Beach Resort. People have worked there for more than 20 years. They were never paid their dues. Na still kuna watu wenye wana own houses pale, and the remaining properties za yule mwenye ambaye alikuwa yuko na hizo mahoteli zinauzwa na wazungu wanajilipa. Sisi hatukatai wao kuenjoy the beach. They can enjoy as much as they want, but they have to sell the properties first to pay the workers.
Okay. All right.
The labor office yenye iko hapa, they don't go down to check ni nini yenye na happen on the ground. Wakati mahoteli zikifungwa hawachunguzi ni nini na happen. Union tunataka hata huyo atuoli ajue hiyo union yake yenye iko Malindi hapa, they are not doing anything. We've been contributing month in month out for all those years na cases zetu zinaenda flat.
All right, thank you so much, Anne.
We are tired with them. and they have to wake up. We want our money.
All right.
Kitu lazima Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, DPP, DCI, they have to investigate what is going down here.
All right.
We are tired. We want our money like today. We are suffering. Watoto hawasomi. Some people wame paralyzed, wako mahospitali, hawana vile ambao wanasaidika. And the government offices are just like this. Na hata union. Tumewalipa pesa zetu nyingi sana.
All right, thank you so much, Anne.
With the hotels, they don't take our money to the retirement benefit schemes.
Okay, that was Anne from Malindi.
She is annoyed.
This
She
isn't
is
the first time
lighting.
I've heard this story, actually.
Yeah.
It isn't the first time I've heard this particular story. If you go to Malindi right now is like a ghost town. The business.
No, it's at a standstill. I remember going to some hotel not too long ago, and we were like 8 people.
Yeah.
And this is a huge hotel. And if you imagine that they still have to do their running costs, they still have to run lights, put on the pool, all those things that they have to do. Their running costs still run, and then you're about 8 people. So it's doing badly. But this would probably fall under manufacturing. And maybe the question we should be asking, as I see time is also moving, out of the big 4, which is really brilliant ideas, which Kenyans are good at, ideas that are on paper but never get actualized. The question is, which out of the big 4 is actually getting traction? Which of it is actually, can we see some light at the end of the tunnel? Food security, UHC, affordable housing, ni gani unaona ati iko na kamwangaza tu kidogo?
Wacha nikuoneshe kulikuwa na kamwangaza in the name of NHIF. Unakumbuka hiyo story?
Lakini ni billions ngapi sasa zimeenda?
Mimi nilikwambia NHIF paka hata niliweka wazazi hapo, nikaweka ma relatives hapo ndani, and then NHIF comes and tells guys that it's only civil servants that, and so the ones who have been paying for this NHIF, what are they supposed to do?
And then there's also billions missing.
Then there's
from
billions
NHIF,
missing.
from them,
They
NHIF
said that when you were remitting your fund, you had been paying to the wrong till number. I've never heard of anything like that. This is Kenya, you guys.
They can just do a reversal and move the cash to the correct.
I know, man. Hello. Hello. All right, remember, we're just picking a few phone calls. You can address the president right here on what we call Dear Mr. President. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, who are we speaking to?
You are speaking to Dr. Tieno, a.k.a. Senator.
Yes.
Me, I'm talking on a different, whatever, perspective, yeah?
Okay.
Can you reconfirm to us that President Moi passed out last night and the country is they're not being told?
Well, sir,
I'm getting inside. President Daniel Arap Moi was hospitalized and that he passed out last night.
As far as we know, sir, that he's still alive. The family has confirmed that he is well.
Yeah.
So that is right
so
now.
These are just rumor mongering.
Correct.
We cannot speak on that because we don't know. But what we know in the newspaper, it says that he's currently conscious and that,
very well.
And well.
So no panic.
I
cause
just
for
got
alarm.
that information. I wanted to verify. He's one of my heroes. That's
All
what I was
right.
saying.
Okay. Dr. Otieno there with gossip. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Q.
How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Mwenzetu nani?
Mimi ni Michael Njero from Nairobi.
Okay.
Yes.
Changia, unataka kumwambia president nini leo?
Mimi sitaki kumwambia president anything. I want to tell the Kenyans.
Yes.
Shambukiambia president has a key. He's had so much, and if he hears and acts on it, then we should have seen the results. First of all, president atuambie hizi corruption amekuwa kiarrest watu right, left and center. Saturdays and Fridays and whatever. Ziko results ziko wapi? Nani amechajiwa? Nani amefungwa? Nani ameachiwa? Tumwae sijui youth service, sijui wapi, sijui kina marani za SGR. That's one. Secondly, Kenyans mpaka watoke kwa kikapu ya kusema tuandikwe. Kenyans tumejifanya a nation of consumers. What day are we going to produce anything that can be consumed by somebody else?
Okay.
Thank you so much. That's Mike Njiru there. And he raises some interesting points.
Absolutely. And allow me to read a quote that has been sent by the woman representative for Laikipia. That's Kate Warogoro. She says that Kenyans are to blame for bad governance. They are ready to bribe and compromise any institution. Tribalist idiocy. Hey! Kizungungu.
Idiocy.
Idiocy. Yeah, that word.
And see, what he's raised is very important. we see people, so and so, okay, the journalists, the news breaks the news, breaking news, something has been stolen. I feel like Kenyans have become numb to this. Why? Because, dear Mr. President, we have not seen the results of these cases that are being tried. Who's been tried? No. Who's actually
they have
actually
been taken
arrested?
to court, but they're still scot-free. And we're not just talking about corruption. Our justice system right now is in shambles. Even people who have been accused of murder are scot-free. Yet we have people 6 feet under.
Because there's, interestingly, I was reading about this case of why is it that corrupt cases or people who are caught in doing criminal are actually managed to stay out of prison because of a loophole in the judiciary, which you can just keep going to appeal, so you can lengthen the time of your case. So a case like, for example, Goldenberg, was anyone ever arrested? That's the Kenya that we live in. As we pick our final phone calls, hello, Murgo from Kericho, good morning.
Hello.
Habari ya leo?
Salama kabisa ndugu.
Haya.
Murgo. Let me contribute.
Yes.
Yes, dear Mr. President.
Yes.
I applaud your way of fighting corruption. You leave a good legacy if you pursue that fight. But I'm concerned, Mr. President, that those who have been involved in corruption are told to step aside, and then they are bailed out. They are taken to court. They are bailed out, and that is the end of the story. Mr. President, is that not another case of corruption? Fight corruption to the bitter end. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. So like I said, this is going to be one of those conversations that will need a whole hour of why there are no people who have been arrested. I read an article, I think it was in the Standard, and basically that's it. It's not that, and this is what Punguza Mzigo was saying. They would change the constitution and make sure that when it comes to corruption cases, 30 days. But what we have is a loophole where you can just keep going to extend the
Constitution
case
allows you, your constitutional right to be out on bail, which is what they're taking advantage of.
Yes.
And the irony of it is that those, especially who are caught with corruption, may have stolen a lot of money, so they can afford it. Even, give them 5 million bail,
but
pocket change.
I feel it should not change. It should not stop with them being arrested too hivyo. Hata zile pesa waliiba zirudishwe. Na zikirudishwa tunasema, unaona hii pesa umse aliiba, ndio hii inajenga SGR inaendelea. So that process is being invested to something. Si ati unajua tu koti imesema itarudishwa, but we need to know hii pesa mtu aliiba hapa Kiambu ama hii county imerudi iko hapa ndio inafanya kazi.
Those who actually say that what we need is a benevolent dictator, and what a benevolent dictator would do, constitution sijui law nini, anasema hapana, wewe kujua kama umeshikwa kaa ndani, sitaki kujua.
But it's interesting, in Kiambu the governor, the battle governor Baba Yao. Actually, I think it was last week in the newspaper, he was like, dear Mr. President,
nilishikwa
hizo pesa zenye zimebiwa, wacha tu nizirudishe nirudi kwa kazi. As in, that's when that's where we've reached.
How bad it is.
That's how bad it is. Thank you guys so much. We've had a great conversation. Imagine. It flies, yeah? And to all the Kenyans who are still calling, we see that this is definitely a conversation that is needed. Remember, this happens every Wednesday from 7 to 8 a.m. When we do Convergence right here at Standard Media Group, Vibes Radio, and KTN News.
Absolutely.
We'll see you again, Michael.
Yes, thank you very much. You guys always throw me out of the studio just when I'm getting warmed up, but it's all right. Next Wednesday, I'm going to be here, man.
All right. Right now, though, tell them about the Telcom bundles.
And for stuff